This is our vibrant Discord community. We have over 400 members on the member platform and about 150 on the Discord server. Now these are active users, and the one question I'm asked most often by people in this community is, when is my agent good enough to sell and what do I sell it for? Now that is the question that I'm going to answer right now, because this is a critical topic for AI automation agency owners who are working with conversational AI. Now by the end of this video you will know exactly what a professional tier voice agent, chat agent, or in general, conversational AI agent looks like, how to productize it, and how to sell it to your clients. Now, conversational AI comes in many different shapes and sizes. But for the purpose of this video, I have broken the general agent down into 4 main levels. So these are the levels. Level 1, AI assistant. This one can answer basic questions, give sources and links and info to the user, keeps transcripts and saves data, and a great example is receptionist or a chatbot widget. So receptionist can take a call, forward the call to someone in the company, leave a note or answer some basic questions, or give some resources like look here on the website, or I can help you this way, or you can find out more information about it that way. Level 2, an AI agent. And an AI agent is actually capable of performing certain actions. It has mono-channel memory, which means it can actually save and remember, retrieve information when a certain customer or client or user interacts with it, but it's only on one particular channel, so not through chat and voice. It's a mono-channel, so voice with voice and chat with chat, and can execute certain actions like leaving a note, booking a meeting, and retrieving data from a database. So again, leaving a note for someone in the company by sending an email, or actually booking a meeting and then sending the meeting confirmation link through WhatsApp, text, email, etc. And lastly, for level 2, it can save end of call reports and update customer info in a database. So if something changes, their email changes, their name changes, company name changes, some basic information changes, their phone number changes, it can get that information and update it into the database. Level 3 is omni-channel agents, and these are really the professional tier ones. Omni-channel agents have perfect memory between multiple channels, so you have chat and voice, and if you first interact with the voice agent and then switch to chat, it can actually remember that conversation, and then if you switch from chat to voice again, it can also remember those chat conversations. So that's omni-channel functionality. You can use both channels. You can also execute the same actions across multiple channels. So if it can book a meeting via voice, it can also book a meeting via WhatsApp or text or any other channel, like email, for example. And also omni-channel functionality enables more complex actions like secure passkey system or user authentication. One great example of this is the e-commerce space. If someone has made a delivery or actually ordered a product and they want to change the delivery time or delivery details, like you can give the package to my neighbors because I'm not home, then before they are able to do that, they first have to perform a user authentication. This could either be giving the passcode that they got when ordering the product, or clicking on the confirmation link that they get through their email or through their WhatsApp or through their text to confirm that they are the owner of that email address or of that phone number. And also it saves call data perfectly and presents it in a client portal for review, export, or edit. So all of these things I will show you guys in this video. What does it look like and how could you build it? Level 4, custom agents. Well, this is something that I most certainly cannot show you in this video because this is the highest level and this is really custom and customized. This is training a custom LLM through fine-tuning an existing model on call data for better results and lower latency. So using custom LLMs. And how do you get the data to train that LLM? Well, you would make sure that all data collected from this agent via chat or via voice is labeled and sanitized for training AI models. And also you can make a custom CRM build in Salesforce or HubSpot, where you would not need anything in between Vapi or Make.com or any other system that you use. You build it directly into the CRM. So those are the that's a custom AI agent. Most people will be satisfied with the omni-channel agent. Now I'm going to show you guys what it will look like. So starting off this video, this is the members platform that I was talking about. You can just go to members.vlireo.com if you haven't already, and you get instant access to all of my resources. The partner portal community is completely free. Everything is free in here, even though some people have suggested that it shouldn't be. It is. So you can go to members.vlireo.com, link in the description. You can make an account. You can go to resources. All resources for this video and my past videos will be in here. About 400 people have already registered with the members platform. And as you can see, you can download all blueprints and resources for building your own AI agents when you visit this platform. Furthermore, you can also go to the partner portal, and here you can find people to work with or add your own profile, and people can find you and work with you. I'll quickly show you guys my, so these are all of the people that have already made a profile. It's kind of like LinkedIn. The great thing is you can also, after you've built the profile, export your profile and share it with your clients. It's going to look something like this. Here's my name, email address, some information about me, a meeting link, and also the things that I am competent of, like my like Vapi AI, make.com, SEO. You can also edit and update your profile. So this is the phone number that's shown in my profile. This is my bio, my skills. You can select those. You can add your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your language, your hourly rate. Many people have actually added their hourly rate. So if you have a client and you're not sure if you can deliver the whole assignment or project, you can just browse through here, click on skills, and find someone that has the skills that you're looking for. And then you can check their hourly rate. In many cases, they'll have added that, and then you can just send them a message, reach out, and work together. So there are some very, very competent people in this partner portal already. So I would highly advise you to check that out. And lastly, you can also go to community, where you can visit our Discord community for any builders out there or AI automation agencies. That's the Discord server I showed you at the beginning of the video. Everyone many people are very active. There are about 150 users in there, and they do answer your questions if you're running into problems. So I would also advise you to check that out. I am active in that community, and anyone else in the space also is. Lastly, we also have our Vlireo Insiders tab. So that's something we're working on right now, and we just launched it. This is if you're in the Vlireo Insiders page, but if you want to work with us or have a direct connection with us, you can go to that tab, apply for that, and then we'll get back to you. So really quickly, that was the members.vlireo.com page. All resources for this video will be in there. So now let's get into what does this professional tier conversational AI agent actually look like. First of all, if you're not familiar with it yet, this is Vapi. So there are many voice caller agent platforms builders out there right now. I think Vapi is the best one because it's a developer first platform. It's really built to build stuff with, not necessarily to quickly make an assistant, give it a prompt and have it working when you connect it to a phone number. This is really built to build your own solutions with. So if you are running an AI automation agency and you want to really make this into a sustainable service that you can build on and improve for the long run, for the coming 10 years, then this is the platform you're going to want to be using, because it's really something that you're going to grow into, become better at, and you're still in time to be one of the top players. Actually, I noticed that they've added some of my videos to the community videos, as you can see right here. But there's some pretty serious people who are building very nice things, yeah, right here on this platform. So that's the one that we are using to build voice agents, and I'll quickly cover what does this actually look like. Now, starting off with telling you what Vapi is. Most of you guys are already quite familiar with it, have built pretty cool stuff with it. And now, by now you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna skip this video because it's probably not for me, because this is too beginner-like. I'm actually telling you from the ground up to all the way to the professional tier base agents that we deliver to clients. What does it look like and how can you build it? It's more of an overview. It's not as in-depth as my other videos where I show you step by step how to build it. I just give you some instructions and give you some idea about how did we build it and how could you possibly improve your own agents. So a lot of value for each level of skill at this point. So if you're a complete beginner, then this is going to be the best video for you, because watching this one will give you an idea of where can I build towards, what does it look like, and understand some terms. And if you're more advanced, you're actually going to be able to implement some of the things that I'm going to show you in this video and build it for yourself and add it to your system, because you will be able to understand how I built it and how to do it for yourself. So just for the people who are wondering, how does Vapi actually work and what does this look like before we get into the systems? You have your Vapi is a system a platform that you use in order to communicate with an end user. For example, if you're an AI automation agency, you have a client that wants a receptionist, or they want to add a phone number to their website that people can call and then book a meeting, or connect it to a lead form, for example, where anyone who fills out that lead form, either via Facebook ads or via the website or any other way, anyone who fills out that form is automatically called by the AI agent and is convinced to book a meeting or an appointment and have that appointment or that meeting link automatically sent to them. And they want that to be done with an AI. Well, that's what Vapi is perfect for, but some people don't quite understand what Make.com's role is in this and all the other things that are attached to that. I noticed that Go High Level is not in here. I'll quickly go over Go High Level, but this is the main system that we work with and also that I make my videos about. Here on the right side, you have the end user. So who is that? That is the person who will be visiting your website or the website of your client, so the client you're building this system for. So this is a lead. In the case of sales, let's just use a sales example. This is the lead that visits the website or replies to the form and is called by Vapi. So the Vapi phone number, the Vapi platform is just a collection of APIs like 11 Labs and or systems like 11 Labs or OpenAI or DeepGram. And all it does is 11 Labs generates voice, OpenAI generates text, and DeepGram can turn voice into text. And combining all of those three, that way you can actually, the Vapi system can understand what the lead is saying in the voice call, but also say something back. So it can generate text and then turn that text into a reply, so into voice, into an actual AI that is speaking those sentences. So that's all Vapi basically is going to interpret what this person says by turning his speech into text. And then with AI or OpenAI, ChatGPT is going to turn that text into a reply. So it's going to write a reply to whatever the lead said. And then with 11 Labs, they are going to turn that reply, which is text, into voice, and the voice is spoken back to the lead. So that's the conversation that these two are having. And basically, if you're looking at the level 1 assistant, so just the base assistant without any actions, it would just be a back and forth between the lead and Vapi. So just a back and forth along this way, and nothing else would happen. Now, the interesting thing about Vapi and why it's so powerful is because you can, they have great API documentation and it's really built to build with. So just to give the best example, you can just go full on API or build it in your Go High Level. It's a little bit more complex. I'll touch on that in a later video, but just for the purpose of this video, we'll use make.com, and you can connect Vapi. So this is make.com. I'll get back to that in this video in a minute. But this is make.com, and Vapi, if the lead, for example, wants to leave a note for someone in that company, like this lead, or let's stick with the caller example. This lead visited a website and filled out a form, is called by Vapi, and Vapi asks, hey, do you want to book a meeting? The lead says, sure, I want to book a meeting. And Vapi says, okay, sure, awesome. Can you, are you available for this Tuesday at 12? And they're like, yeah, sure, I'm available. And then Vapi asks, okay, then I want this information and this information and that information. And then the lead is going to give that information. And then Vapi is going to send that information to make.com. From this point on, Vapi is not involved. So when Vapi sends information to make.com, it expects that from this point on, between Vapi and make.com, make.com is going to do something that Vapi expects. So what is make.com going to do? It has to book a meeting for a certain time. So it will go into Calendly, book a meeting, or it goes, well, actually, I don't have it right here. Actually, there should be there should be a Google Meet logo right here. But make.com would talk to the, let's just say this is the Google Meet logo. It's going to make it a little easier. You can even do this with Salesforce, but that's going to make it a little more complex. So imagine that this is a Google Meet logo, or a Google logo, is going to talk to Google and say, hey, this is all the information, date and time, name, email address, phone number, book a meeting. And then the Google logo or system or module or API is going to say, sure, I'll book the meeting. Everything is set up without having to log into Google. And it directly sends a link to the user, or you could send the link to the user via make.com. You can you can decide that for yourself. In any case, this is how it works. You have all kinds of systems that you can work with, and you can either send information or retrieve information or perform a certain action. Something has to be done. Quite anything and everything is possible if you use this structure. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys what a professional tier agent actually looks like. And I had to quickly restart this video or this recording because I was explaining it, and then I realized that it is really difficult to make this video beginner friendly because we're at quite a high level. And also that's the reason why I can't show you guys a step-by-step build. I can only show you guys a complete overview of the system, because building it step-by-step would be really complicated. In the Giga Vapi agent of my last video, I tried to make it a little easier by using all kinds of set variable modules where you would only have to change the fields in the set variable modules and then would make it work for you. I can't do that for this one. There are too many dependencies. So if you are a beginner, this is the first AI builder video that you've seen thus far, I would advise you to just watch the whole thing, try to follow as many things as you can, and try to save everything that you can, because at a later stage when you're building, this is all going to make sense to you. If you're more moderate, or if you've built similar systems before, you're going to understand much of what I'm talking about and going to be able to, with a little trial and error, either improve your system or build this yourself. So that's kind of the target audience for this video, and that's how I'm going to explain it. First of all, you have the make.com server URL scenario. So you have two branches, assistant request and end of call report. So that's what you use the server URL for. And we'll start off with assistant request. So there are two types of calls, of course, that could be made, and that's either outbound or inbound. So either someone calls you or you call someone. And with a server URL, it is inbound. So that means that you have your lead and it calls your phone number. So it calls Vapi and then Vapi has to answer the call. But in order to answer the call, it has to give an assistant. So assistant, agent, what does it look like? How does it talk? What is its prompt? All that kind of stuff. What's the first message it says? How quickly does it respond? Is recording enabled? Isn't the recording not enabled? Is HIPAA mode turned on? Is there a transcription? What models do we use? That's all inside of the agent. And if you're building at this level, you're going to, of course, use transient agents. So that means that you can either build the agent in Vapi itself and then fill out all of the stuff just in the dashboard and reference it by ID. But that's not going to make you allow you to make the edits that you should want to make, or the dynamic, make it as dynamic as you should want it to be when you're building agents at this level. So you're going to use transient agents, and that's what you do with the serve URL. So when someone calls Vapi, then Vapi is going to ask for an assistant. So in the Vapi dashboard, you can actually give a master webhook. So every time you can also assign a webhook to your or server URL to your phone number. But in general, you can go to Vapi, go to settings, and then you can set server URL for your Vapi. And what that's going to do is every time someone calls Vapi, is going to ask via that webhook, so this line connecting Vapi with make.com, for an assistant. And then make.com receives that request. So what we did with the server URL is once the request is received, first we're going to filter the right branch, of course, because we're also sending end of call report to the same URL. So that's what this filter is for, assistant request. And then you have, you retrieve some information from the Airtable, from the database. We already integrated the calendar into this. So before we pick up the phone, we try to see, hey, which time slots in our calendar are available. And then we make that easy to understand when we give it to the agent. And then we give that to the transient agent such that when it picks up the phone, it already knows what date and times it could propose to the user, because we give it our availability. So when are we available for meetings? 9 to 5 every workday. And then we also give it, but these time slots are already filled in. And by doing that, it can just on the fly, it knows which times are not available and what is our working hours. And by that, it doesn't have to use a function or a tool in order to suggest a date and time for a meeting. You can just do that on the fly because you've done that before you even picked up the phone. So that's what this is for. And then the Airtable module is you get the record of the agent. So I'll get back to that, but this is what our serve URL looks like, is you go through all of these steps and then at the end you answer with a transient assistant. Now, by making a transient assistant, we can use a different platform where we get the information from to edit certain parts or certain parts of the agent. So, and make it more, also give the user or the client a platform where they can change their system and change their agent. So that's our server URL scenario. And then you also get your end of call report. So we turned on end of call report after a call is made, always after a call is made, even if, well, actually not if a call is not picked up, then you get a status call, and we don't use any of those. We just use end of call report. So that also comes in via server URL, and then we search the records in our Airtable, so our database. You can use anything for this. And then we look at the phone number, retrieve all of their information, and then save that data So every customer, everyone who calls our agent gets their own record in our database, and we update that record at the end of every call. So that's basically what our server URL does. It either answers the call with an assistant, or when the call is finished, it updates the record of that customer or that client with the newest information. Then we get to another important scenario, which is initiate outbound call. This is a little easier to understand. If a lead visits a website and fills out a form, then it's actually the other way around. So a webhook, the form has a webhook attached to it, and then sends all of the data and information to make.com. So for example, someone filled out a Salesforce form, it sends that information to make.com, and then make.com automatically sends it to Vapi, and then Vapi initiates a call to call the lead. So that's what this is. So a form is filled out on a website and everything is sent to this link. And that starts the automation right here. And then again, we are going to check our availability so that before we even make that call, we already know which times we are available for a meeting, because this is an appointment setter in this case. And then either they have filled in, added the website to the form, or they have not. If they have not added the website, we immediately create a new record and get a record, and then call the lead. Or let's see. So we make a new customer. We create a record, their phone number, full name, email, company name. We want to store all of that information, of course. And then also we're going to get a record. So this is our assistant. Every time both of these assistants are transient. So you can either make it in Vapi, and then it has an ID, or you can make it in and build it in here. And then you have this entire JSON, which you can edit yourself. And that's a transient assistant. So if you build it in Vapi, Vapi is going to make that JSON for you. And if you build it yourself, you can edit any part of the JSON, but you do have to make sure that your JSON, so this entire text, is written in a way that Vapi will understand once you give it to them. So going back here, if someone fills out a form and sends information to make.com, our scenario creates a JSON. So this structure of all kinds of information creates a JSON that we're going to send to Vapi. But Vapi expects a certain type of JSON. If you don't write the JSON or the information in a way that Vapi understands or expects, it's not going to work. It's not going to work even if you add just a double quote in the right place. It's not going to work. So that's very important when you're working with transient agents. You really have to know how to build that one. And you can just look at the Vapi documentation, of course, in order to learn how to build transient agents. But you do have to get this right in order to send it to Vapi. But it gives you a lot more flexibility about, hey, what do I change in here? So all the things that we want to be able to change in our assistant, like the prompt or the first message or the language or the voice ID, we store that in an Airtable database. So right here. So if we go to assistants, we store it right here so that if I change anything in any of these records, it's going to immediately change the transient assistant in our scenario. So I'll show you in a minute why that's so powerful. But yeah, that's why so not all of the parts of the JSON is in the Airtable base, only the parts that we want to edit. So for example, language, in this case, always set to English. If we do want to be able to change that via the Airtable base, we could just make another row or field called language, and then put en in there, and then call it, and then add it right there. So you could do that, but in this case we've chosen not to. You can actually, with all of these things, you can just put it in your Airtable base. You can make it as complicated as you want. In this case, this was quite good enough. And if they did add a website, so they filled out the form with a link to their website, and it was a good link, then we're going to visit the website, grab all text from that website, so no HTML, just raw text, like TXT. And then we're going to generate a summary, generate some sales advice, and then create a record and get the record. So that's the same thing that we're doing right here. So only these 4 modules are extra, and then we're going to create a customer and get our assistant and then call the lead. So you're going to use the api.vapi.ai/call endpoint, use a post method, send that JSON, and what that does, a post endpoint, again, a post endpoint sends information to Vapi, and a get endpoint, it means that it gets information from Vapi. So you have get, post, delete, patch, all of these things. If you're building with APIs, I would advise you to learn those things, and I actually made a video about this. I think it was 3 videos ago. It was called my most important video for the next 6 months, because I really explain how APIs work and how you could use them and leverage them to build these systems. So that's the inbound scenario. And then these are the tools. So every time our AI agent is asked to perform a certain action, so going back here, lead says, hey, I want to book an appointment. Vapi says, sure, I'll do that. What's your info? He says, this is my info. Vapi's like, okay, sure, I've got all the info I need. Sends it to make.com. Make.com receives it and orchestrates all of these things and many more things in order to come up with the desired result. And once it's done, it's going to say, hey, Vapi, everything is done. And Vapi is going to say, hey, everything is done. And then the client looks at their phone, like via text, like via WhatsApp, or looks at their email and is going to say, hey, I just got a confirmation email. I just got a link to our meeting. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. So that's basically how it works. And so what you build in make.com is also going to be your tools. So as you can see right here, we have a book a meeting tool. And this one is a little more complicated and a little different than what you've seen in my other video. This is just an extra, something that we're working on if the call failed. So this is via chat. But we'll focus on the first branch right here. So going back here, the information is sent to make.com. Make.com works here and sends the information back. So in this case, this is where make.com got this information, and now it's working with that information. Now you have 2 options. Either someone wants to book a meeting via Vapi, so the voice agent, or via chat. We'll first look at voice agent. We'll get back to chat in a minute. So basically everything is, if you did it right, everything is already pre-configured to immediately book a meeting. Once the meeting is booked, you can connect it to WhatsApp and send a message like, hey, thank you for booking a meeting with us. This is an automated message. Here is your link. And you can do the same with Twilio. And then you can send them your just a text message. So we do a lot of business in Europe, so that means that WhatsApp is very popular, so we send a confirmation through WhatsApp. But in the United States, of course, text is more popular. So that's what we use Twilio for. And well, Google Meet already automatically sends an invite link to the person who is added as an attendee. So you can just directly send them an email. You don't have to add an Outlook module in order to send the confirmation link. Google Meet does that for you. And if you go to chat, it's basically the exact same thing. So it's either via Vapi or via chat. And if it failed, this is something we're working on, but it's not actually that important. If something failed, you can generate an error. But we've rigorously tested this and it works quite well. Leave a note. So this is another tool. Again, if you go here, someone says, hey, so this is, for example, an inbound call. Someone calls our agency, Flireo, and says, hey, I want to leave a note for Jasper. Could you do that? Vapi's like, yeah, sure, I could do that. What message do you want to leave? And then the user says, could you ask him to call me back? And then Vapi says, okay, sends the message to make.com. Make.com talks to its components. In this case, is just Microsoft. So Outlook, and says, hey, someone left this message. Could you send an email? And then Outlook sends that email, and then it gives a response, which means, and then it sends this response to Vapi, which is successfully left a note. And then Vapi knows that, well, the note was successfully left, and it can tell the user again, hey, I left a note for Jasper, he will call you back in a minute. And then the user hangs up the phone because the task is done, for example. So those are two tools that we've added to the current system, and you can add like every single tool imaginable to your to your agent, because as you've realized by now, Vapi, all it does and all it is just something that can pick up the phone, get information from the lead, and send information to make.com. And from the point that you're working with make.com, you can do just about anything. So Vapi, or your voice agent, is able to do everything that make.com is able to do. And if you're cloud hosting or using APIs or using different platforms, like, you don't have to rely on make.com, but you can do pretty much anything with make.com. So your agent is able to do anything that make.com is able to do once you understand this. So those are the tools. And then our last, second to last scenario actually is the WhatsApp agent. So this is omni-channel functionality, or the omni-channel agent. Not only can your, and this is the base version of that. There's a much more complex version of this. You can also use like BotPress or any other platform for building agents. This works really well. And this is the base agent. We use WhatsApp for this. And well, once the user, let's see where it is. Once the user hangs up the phone, all data is stored in either a Google Sheet. We use Airtable, of course, because it's much better. So everything is stored in Airtable, and all of the information. So when did they last call, and what was the call about, and what was done, and the call summary, and all of the information about the customer. Everything is stored in Airtable, and the confirmation link is sent through WhatsApp. So someone has a WhatsApp and got the confirmation link via WhatsApp. I can actually show you guys. Wait, no, I'm filming this with my phone. I can't actually show you guys what that looks like. Maybe if I don't forget it, I will have a screenshot of what it looks like right now in the video, but I'll probably forget it. But once they get the confirmation link, they have a WhatsApp and a WhatsApp conversation. Best thing would be if they can actually reply to that chat agent and then get a response back. And that's what this is right here. So this is a module that gets, every time a message is sent through WhatsApp, the automation is triggered with the information about that message. And then we're going to search records. So first we're going to see, hey, this number, do we already have it in our database, or is this someone who we've not met before, not talked to before? We don't know this person. Should we add another record and a new customer? So that's what we do, and that's what this filter is about. So we're going to click, do we have history with this person, or do we not have history? If we don't have history, we're going to create a new record, generate a reply with OpenAI, generate an updated history summary. So we're going to say, hey, this is the first time we talked to this person. He asked this question. This is what we replied. And that's the summary of this meeting. And then we're going to update the record that we just created. And yeah, send a reply, of course, via WhatsApp Business Cloud. So then we're going to reply. If we do have history with them, or every reply that comes after this, of course, because this is just something that every customer that is new has to go through once, and then it will always go through this branch. So if you do have history with them, again, before we reply to the conversation, we're going to quickly go through our calendar. Now, I know that people are going to look at this and say, hey, isn't this a little inconvenient? Every time you run this scenario or someone sends a reply, you're going to run through the calendar. Isn't that going to use like a bunch of operations? Well, it's just 4 operations, and oftentimes we have only a few things in our calendar, so it's not really that much. But of course, when we're delivering this to clients and operations becomes an issue, then we might also make a filter right here, do this a different way, and only use it once it's necessary, for example, or make this a tool function in the OpenAI assistant. But for now, this works very well and is also very quick. And then we have our agent right here, which can reply to the question posed by our customer. Now, what makes these assistants more powerful than other assistants is their functions. So this is actually something that's quite funny, and many people who have been working with Vapi for a while now don't actually or have never realized this. But what Vapi does, that's why the JSON is structured in this way, is it actually leverages the function calling functionality of OpenAI Assistant API endpoints. So that's what you see right here. You can book a meeting, you can leave a note directly in the OpenAI agent. So this is basically the same thing as what it's basically doing what Vapi does, but then in your own OpenAI module. So we prompted it to, this is the message that we got. This is the information about the customer. This is what it wants, and you can either send a reply, write a reply, or use any of these tools like book a meeting and leave a note. And if it does that, then we'll always, of course, still write a reply, because if they booked a meeting, the customer still wants to know that the meeting was booked, but they can add functions. So once that is done, update history. History is updated with all of the newest information. Also, when was the last chat sent? And also the chat history is also saved, of course, and thread ID, so that with every new conversation, we generate so in the assistant module, we generate a thread ID. And that's basically a chat history ID that OpenAI gives you. We save that to the customer, and then every time a customer interacts with us again, we make sure that we retrieve the thread ID in the search records Airtable module, and then add it right here, so that we continue the conversation where it left off. So OpenAI can actually know what did we talk about last time we talked. So it can see the entire chat history and reply. It will basically make the WhatsApp chat like the Open ChatGPT interface, where it can obviously know what you talked about by looking at the past chats. So that's what we use that for. That's also updated. And then, of course, we send the reply back to the user. So that's omni-channel functionality at the base of this agent, and what makes your agent really good enough to sell to clients. Like that's the title to this video, or the subject of this video. Of course, I'm of the opinion that any agent or any build is good enough to sell to clients, as long as you're honest about what you're building, what you're able to build, how it works, and if you're honest about your pricing. If someone's willing to pay for it, then it's a good thing. So that's my opinion. But if you want to really deliver a professional top tier product, then this is something that you're going to want to build for your clients. So we use Softr and Airtable. Of course, we have to get all of this data if we sell agents to clients. So how we charge clients is we have multiple pricing structures. The best one, especially for these agents, is a cost per minute and a cost per build. So the agent just has a cost per minute that we calculate, and a cost per build. And then there's also tons of variables that go into that, based on which we build our pricing structure. But just to give you an idea, every client that gets an agent from us, or that we build an agent for, gets their own client portal. And here you can see all of the core vital numbers of your agent. Of course, these are all dummy numbers, but you can see the quick numbers from the past 30 days. So strictly 30 days, even if you're in the middle of November, is going to be the middle of October, where it draws this information from. So 137 calls, total cost was 13.25, average cost per minute was 14.45. So all of that is right here, and then on the right side you can see quick numbers of the current calendar month. So it stops at the beginning of the month. So in this case, the beginning of September. This is the info about that. Call count past 10 weeks. So you can see for every single week how many calls were made, and that's for the past 10 weeks. So you can go back 10 weeks. Also the total cost progression per week. So you can see that in 30 to 31 there was a big spike, and then it just went up slightly, and then it really leveled down in from week 38 to 39. And also all of the reasons that the calls ended in the past 30 days. So in this case you can see phone call provided closed WebSocket, and you can click a reason, and then it updates the pie chart. So all of these are completely customizable, and we build them for each individual client. And I think this is really powerful if you're an agency owner and you want to sell this to your clients. Building a dashboard is incredibly important, because they want to be able to see how your agent works, what it costs, what it does, and be able to keep track of all of these metrics. So this is just a demo, of course. We add way more graphs and possibilities to this if it's necessary. Some clients say, hey, I just need a few things and then it's good enough. I don't want it to be too complicated. And some clients really want to get into the nitty-gritty of the data. That's also possible. So that's the first tab in the partner portal. Then you also have search calls. Again, this is dummy data, of course, but if you go to search calls, you can either filter by the reason the call ended. You can filter by, we can add a lot of filters, of course. And you can also search by anything that is included in the data that is saved. So for example, the transcript is, I remember that a little while ago, I talked to Gino from Gino's Pizza. I actually made a video about this. So I can just type in Gino and I can get that specific call and see everything that I want to see in that call. So this is the phone call or the number that we called with. This is a summary of that call. This is the date and time the call ended. The call duration was about 35 seconds. Call status ended, so it's not calling right now. It's an ended call. Assistant ID. So what assistant did we call with? Recording URL. So if you click this, you can actually listen to the recording. Total cost of call, in this case, was 9 cents. And transcript, this is Gino from Gino's Pizza. How can I assist you today? And then the user said, no, Fur is no, Fur Nathan is no. So actually remember this. This was two bots talking to each other, and one bot was Dutch and the other was English. So that's why this one looks a little weird. And this is, of course, also a dummy call. So don't take any of these too seriously, but this is just to show you what a client portal looks like and how you can use it for your own agency. You can add all kinds of metrics to this. Of course, all of this is saved in our dashboard. So if you go in here, we've set up an automation that if someone goes to the main charts and clicks refresh data and call history, then the automation starts, and all of the most recent 1,000 calls in the system are loaded into this sheet and are presented in the client portal. So if someone clicks refresh data and call history, it starts the automation and all data is updated. And then, well, with the newest 1,000 leads, and also all of these things are completely customizable, of course, but that is what you're going to need to do in order to build this dashboard, and you're going to use the list calls API endpoint for that. So if you go to the API reference, you go to list calls. And if you do that, then you can list all of the calls that you've ever had in Vapi. Now there's some limits that you have to take into account. I actually had a great conversation about this with Chowder, or actually Tyler Miller, also known as Chowder. Really active in the Vapi community, really delve deep into what are dashboards and what do they look like and what are its purpose. Had some really powerful insight from him in that meeting, and that's how we built this thing also. So I really would advise you checking him out. I think if I don't forget it, I'll mention him in the description. And or else you can, of course, see him around in our Discord server. So you use that endpoint to get all of the data and load it in here into the calls tab. And you are going to use different table views in order to update your charts. So every chart has its own table view. And well, it just makes it easier to update and edit the charts. You can just select a view, select your variables, and then you can go instead of configuring it precisely for every. So you have to make a lot of formula fields in order to make that happen. You can just make a field, a table, and that's going to make it a lot easier. So that's what that is for. And the search calls, that's also a view right here. Search through all calls table. And then you can just type something in. You can edit the record. You can delete the record. You can just listen to the recording, for example, all that stuff. And then there's another tab, and this is the reason why we use transient assistance and why you saw all of those variables in this scenario. So the outbound one, as you can see, is all kinds of variables everywhere. And that's actually what we draw from here. So we have our assistants, and all of the information that we need in order to answer a phone call is in there. And then you have your, the client can actually choose their assistant, like Derek inbound, Derek outbound. We use Derek for our demos at Flireo. And then, well, we always automatically generate an image, but this is just an AI generated image of a random person, and we said this is Derek. So Derek inbound, this is the first message that they say. This is the model that's behind it. This is the prompt, voice message. So the powerful thing about this is that the agent or the client can actually see how the assistant is built. And although, as you can see, these schemas are much more complex than what the client can edit. I mean, this is a really short schema. You can add a bunch of things to your agent to make it even more customizable. But just for the purpose of this video, if a client logs into their client portal, they can actually update their agent themselves. So in this case, you can change the first message. So that's the first message the agent speaks once it picks up the phone. You can edit the prompt. So if anything has to change in this prompt, then the client can do it themselves. They can experiment with it. They can change the voicemail message. They can change the phone forwarding phone number. So if a call has to be forwarded, to which phone number should it be forwarded? Of course, you can do a lot of things with forwarding. There's a whole book and literature behind that. But just for the purpose of this video, you can transfer calls. For example, when a human has to pick up the phone. So that's what that's for. And background sound, a client can say, hey, I want no background sound. I want to try with office background sound, the end of call message, and the first comment behavior. So I want my assistant to immediately speak once the phone is connected, or it wants to wait for the user. For example, if you're calling to someone and someone picks up the phone, it would be normal to first wait for that person to say something, or else it sounds a little weird. So if I pick up the phone and before I can say something, someone already immediately says something, it's kind of strange. So that's what that is for. And also, of course, I really advise you, if you're running an AI agency and you're going so far as to build a custom platform for your clients, adding a contact support page. Because the reason why you build my agents, of course, my agents are much more complex than this. But if there are small core changes that have to be made to the agent, then the client can do it themselves instead of having to ask us to do it. And then we either charge a fee for that or an hourly rate or some other way, even though this way they can just do that quick change themselves. And if there are things that are more complicated, more custom, then we have our contact support page where they can send a request and ask, hey, is this possible, or why is this not working, etc., etc. So this is really powerful. And that is actually the entire base professional tier voice agent. All of the things I've shown you is what the base agent that we deliver to clients. These are really the most basic tools that you can add to your agent: booking a meeting, leaving a note. There's all sorts of stuff that you can, of course, add to that. But if you just want an inbound voice sales agent or an outbound sales agent, this is all you're going to need. So that's our base for that. And I hope this video actually gave you some good insight in, hey, what is possible with Vapi and what is the overview architecture of such a platform and what can I build towards, or maybe I've given you some ideas about updating your own current systems. So yeah, so I think this was probably actually most probably my most complicated video thus far, because this is really the higher level of Vapi and building stuff with Vapi. But I think that even if you are a beginner, even if this is the first voice agent video that you're watching, it adds immense value, because already jumping in with a helicopter overview of what is possible and how do these structures work gives you a great edge when learning to build these systems. And because when you watch other videos like my other videos where I actually show you step by step how to build these systems, it becomes a lot more clear about, hey, it works this way, oh, it complements that, and I can tweak it this way, or this is what I'm building towards. So I think that's really, really neat and really powerful. And if you're more advanced, of course, you can either build this or something like this, or perhaps, I hope I've given you some ideas where you can update your current systems. So yeah, it's probably one of my shorter videos and more complicated ones, but I also think it's a very powerful and very good one. So in any case, thank you for watching. If I forgot anything, or if I can add anything, if you have any questions about this video, or if you want to work with us, of course, you can go to the members.vlireo.com website or page, and then you can just make a free account and contact me through there. You can also contact me through Discord. You can contact me through Instagram or through our main website, so vlireo.com. And then we can work together, or I can help you solve some problems or help you scale your current system. If you're at a stage where you've already built some stuff and you want to add some extra functionalities to it, like omni-channels or a better memory or the passkey system, the authentication system, the dashboard, the client portal, all that kind of stuff, reach out to me. I'll see what I can do. In any case, thank you very much. And yeah, good luck.